Hello everybody, how are you? Welcome back. It is great to see you after Shabbat, and I hope you had a wonderful Shabbat. Shabbat here in Mitzpeh Yericho was beautiful. We didn't get to go to shul, unfortunately, and we didn't get to have guests over, unfortunately, but otherwise Shabbat was beautiful. It was wonderful. Shabbat is so special because we get time to daven for longer, and we don't have to worry about things like homework and our jobs and different things. All we get to do is daven and learn Torah and relax and spend time with our families. Usually we get to spend time with our friends and our guests also. Now that we're trying to make sure that we're healthy, we don't get that as much, but everything else is amazing. Today on our show, we're going to do some great things, and I'm really excited to do them with you and show them to you and tell them to you, and I'm just very, very excited about it all. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to tell you something special about Mitzpeh Yericho, about where I live here in Eretz Yisrael. Then I'm going to tell you a story about somebody named Rav Chanina ben Dosa, and then I'm going to show you something special that I'm going to use in a couple of days to do a big mitzvah. Okay, are you ready for a great show? I'm ready. So first, we're going to open up and tell you something great about where I live, Mitzpeh Yericho, something interesting that you might not have where you live and in your house, even if you live in Eretz Yisrael. But if you don't live in Eretz Yisrael, you might not get to. I live in what's called in Hebrew a midbar. I live in a desert, right? Sometimes we read about deserts. Some of you might live near a desert. Some of you might have visited a desert, but I live here in a desert. That's why the mountains are the colors that they are, because they're the colors of the desert. Okay, so I live in a desert, and the desert that I live in is called Midbar Yehuda. It's actually, they say, the smallest desert in the whole wide world. But it's our desert, and we love it. I never ever thought I'd live in a desert, but I do get to live in a desert here in Eretz Yisrael, in Mitzpeh Yericho. Now, do you remember on our other shows, I would show you the beautiful view that we have in Mitzpeh Yericho, where you can see from my house, Yericho, and then you can see the Emek HaYarden, the Jordan Valley, and you can see Yarden, you can see the the Jordanian mountains, right, Hari Amon. But look today. Today it looks like I have a fake background, and I took a white marker and rubbed it off across, or an eraser, of all the beautiful view we used to have, and now there's nothing there. It's not what I did. This is really how it looks today. And every once in a while, Mitzpeh Yericho, it looks just like this. Now you'll say, what, it looks like what? What does that mean? Does that mean that Hashem puts like a whiteboard up and you just see white over here? So I'll tell you, it's really, really interesting. What Hashem does is he has clouds that come really far down from the heat of the desert in Iraq and in Jordan, and they come across and they block the whole view. Everything that used to be there is still there, but now there's clouds blocking it, so we can't see it. And there's wind that comes. It's very windy. If I didn't shave my head, you'd see my hair going all over the place. Or if there was like papers here, you'd see them flying. But it's very windy today. And what's interesting is that even if it's windy, it gets very hot. So today was a very hot day because the winds are coming in from those deserts out there, which are much bigger, and then they combine into our desert, and we get heat, and we get no view, and we get clouds, and that's all together at once here in our midbar. And that's something special in Mitzpeh Yericho. Even though I love coming out here and looking at the beautiful view, every once in a while when we get a day like this, it reminds me of how beautiful our view usually is and how many, many different niflaot, how many different wonders Hashem does in our area to show us just how beautiful this area is. So I come out here on a day like today and I wake up in the morning and I say, is it going to be sunny today? Is it going to be hot today? Is it going to be cloudy today? And then I look outside and it's none of those things. Because it's not really a cloudy day like when it rains. This isn't clouds. It's just like clouds that come down, but it's not going to rain. Not at all. Sometimes it can even do this in the middle of the summer, when in the summer here, it never rains. It doesn't rain here for about 8 months straight because we're in the desert. So this is what I wanted to show you today. I was going to show you something else today, but then when I saw this morning, I'm like, oh, we got to change the show. I got to show everybody this special stuff going on behind me, because they're going to think that what's behind me is usually fake, and I took a white eraser and erased out half the picture. But that's not what I did at all. It's not fake. It's not an erased picture. What this is how Hashem makes it sometimes, to when the hot air comes this way and the cold air comes from that way and all the stuff mixes together, we get a day like this. I still think it's pretty cool. Okay, that's what I wanted to show you. And by the way, I want to tell you one more thing. Sometimes, it only happens maybe once every couple of years, but sometimes sand comes from that desert over there, here, and the whole sky turns orange, and sand comes from everywhere into everything. Goes on our windows and our clothes, even, no joke, in our ears, and we got to take the sand out. But that's only every couple of years. That hasn't happened in a very long time, and I don't like it when it happens, because everything gets filthy and gross and disgusting. Okay, let's go on with our show today and tell you an amazing story about Rav Chanina ben Dosa. Rav Chanina ben Dosa lived in Eretz Yisrael at the time when there was a Beis HaMikdash. The second Beis HaMikdash is when he lived. He lived in a time when you could go to the Beis HaMikdash, you could bring a Korban Pesach, there were Kohanim there that would help you out, and that's when he lived. And he lived at a really good time because he got to see the Beit HaMikdash. Do you know, hopefully, I really hope, and I look forward to this, one day, maybe this year, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, the Beis HaMikdash will be rebuilt, and we'll all go to Yerushalayim for Pesach, and we'll all get to go to the Beit HaMikdash, and we're not going to have to be separate from each other, a couple of meters away from each other, a couple of feet away from each other. We're not going to have to do that. We're going to all go into the Beis HaMikdash, Be'ezras Hashem, hopefully very soon. I hope that happens. But Rav Chanina ben Dosa got to do that every year at Pesach. He got to go to the Beit HaMikdash because he lived when there's a Beit HaMikdash. And he lived in the north of Eretz Yisrael. So if I wanted to go to see where Rav Chanina ben Dosa lived, in a little town called Arav in the Galil, I would go that way, because that's to the north of Israel. In fact, today, there's a highway there. I could probably get there in very little time, especially today because there's no one on the road, but we're not allowed to go because we have to be safe in our houses. Okay, so he lived in a place called Arav, up in the Galil, and that's where he was. Now, I have to tell you, Rav Chanina ben Dosa was probably one of the biggest tzaddikim that ever lived. Really, when I say that, I'm not exaggerating. He really was one of the biggest tzaddikim that ever lived, of all time. Ever. Rav Chanina ben Dosa. Okay? And Rav Chanina ben Dosa was such a tzaddik because he never, ever wanted to not do what Hashem said. He wanted to do all the mitzvot and never do anything that Hashem said you can't do. He never wanted to do a chait, an averah, a sin, never ever. Even if it was by accident, he would make sure to never, ever do anything Hashem didn't want. He was very careful about following the mitzvahs, which was made him such a tzaddik. Now, there is a mitzvah that happens in Eretz Yisrael that I have to tell you about. It's one of the mitzvahs that we love in Eretz Yisrael. It's amazing mitzvahs. It's called Trumot U'Ma'asrot. Some of you might know it as Trumos and Masros. Trumot U'Ma'asrot is a mitzvah that when a fruit grows from a tree, you can't just take all the fruit off the tree and bring it into your house and eat it all, even if you're a farmer. You have to take some fruit off for a Kohen, for the Levi, for a poor person, and then the rest you can keep and bring to your house. But some of that fruit is not considered ours, and we have to give that to the Kohen, and that giving it to the Kohen is a mitzvah. Okay? So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do all the mitzvahs as possible, and you can't eat the fruits. You cannot eat the fruits until you take Trumos and Maasros. Alana and Yaakov, I hope you're paying attention. Okay, so now, you ready? You have to take the fruits off. and then you have to give it away. Now today, we don't give the fruits to a Kohen. We don't give it to a Levi, okay? Today, we take the fruits and we just put it aside, and then we take some of the fruits and instead we switch it with a coin. That's what we do, but we still can't eat the fruit until we take Trumas and Maasros. That is the halacha. Rav Chanina ben Dosa would never, ever, when I say ever, really ever think about eating any fruit unless Trumot and Maasrot were taken first. I mean, never, ever would he ever consider such a thing. Not at all. Never. When I say never, I mean never, ever. Now, he was very careful because we take Trumot and Maasrot because we recognize that the food is not ours. It's really all belongs to Hashem. And Hashem gives us permission to eat from the fruit, but only if we follow his halachot. Today, nobody eats unless we make a bracha. If we don't need to make a bracha, it's not ours. And if we take food that's not ours, it's like stealing. That's why it's so important for us to make a bracha. But here in Eretz Yisrael, we also have to take Trumot and Maasrot before we eat. Okay, now this is where we get to our first story about Rav Chanina ben Dosa. One time, Rav Chanina ben Dosa, him and his wife did not have a lot of money. They were very poor. That's going to be our story tomorrow about how poor they were. They were very poor. And one time she didn't have spices for her cholent. Everybody has cholent. Rav Chanina ben Dosa's wife also made cholent every Shabbos. But cholent is good when you put spices in it. But by the way, do you know what the most important spice to put in the cholent is? It's not ketchup. It's not onion powder. It's not barbecue sauce. It's not Tabasco. It's not whatever your special spice. It's the spice of Oneg Shabbos. That's what makes it so good. If you have cholent on Tuesday, it's nowhere near as good as the cholent on Shabbat morning. Of course not. Who would ever think such a thing? Cholent on Shabbat is so good because it has a special spice, Oneg Shabbos. That's the special spice of cholent. Okay, let's go back to our story. Rav Chanina ben Dosa's wife wanted to put spices in her cholent to make it yummy. So, she didn't have any spices. Not a spice at all. So she goes to her neighbor's house, knocks on the door. Can I borrow some spices? And she says, oh, I just got new spices from the marketplace, from the shuk. I was just there and I got spices and I have so much. I didn't even have to open up the new spices. I had so much. I used the old ones, didn't even have to open up the new ones. You can have the new ones and next week I'll go buy new ones again. No problem. Okay, great, thank you so much. Just one thing, Mrs. ben Dosa. So she says, yes, I didn't take Trumos and Maasros from the spices yet. So make sure when you get home, you take Trumos and Maasros from them before you use them. And Mrs. ben Dosa said, oh, it's a good thing you told me. My husband is so careful. He's Rav Chanina ben Dosa, the big tzaddik. He's so careful about not eating anything without taking Trumas and Maasros. He would be so upset if he found out that we ate without taking Trumas and Maasros. Thank you for reminding me. And she said, of course. I know how careful your husband is. He would never eat anything called tevel that you didn't take Trumas and Maasros from. So of course I told you. So Chanina ben Dosa's wife gets home, and sometimes this happens. It gets close to Shabbos. We don't know what's going on. It's messy. It's disorganized. There's a lockup. People have to shower, and there's a big mess. And Chanina ben Dosa's wife totally forgot. Completely forgot about taking Trumas and Maasros. But the last second she remembered, she didn't spite completely forgetting about Trumas and Maasros. And the fact that they didn't take Trumas and Maasros, she puts the spices in the cholent. Right in the cholent. She puts the spices inside the cholent. No Trumas and Maasros taken. Oy vey. What are we going to do? Okay. She doesn't even remember. Shabbos morning. The house smells wonderful like cholent. Amazing cholent. This is going to be great. What tasty is this going to be? So she goes. She's so excited. Shabbos morning, Rav Chanina ben Dosa comes home from shul. He walks in the door. Oh, it smells amazing. Wow, this is so good. This is great. He even brought a guest home and he says, I've never smelled a cholent this good. You have to tell me your secret. What's your secret to such good cholent? She says, secret ingredient is Oneg Shabbos. So excited. She passes out bowls of cholent for everybody. They make kiddush. They make hamotzi. They go and eat the cholent, and they're about to eat the cholent. And Chanina ben Dosa picks up his spoon to eat the cholent, and it starts shaking. His hand starts to shake like this. He can't hold the spoon straight. He can't even dip it in. Every time he tries to dip it in the cholent, his hand, he just grabs his wrist. And he's trying, and his hand is shaking. So what's going on? He starts getting very nervous. Maybe I'm getting sick. Maybe something's happening to me. I don't know. This has never happened before. He's very, very scared. And he's trying to grab his arm, and the guest helps him, and he tries to grab his arm, and he's about to put his cholent in the spoon in the cholent, and he's about to dip it in, and then all of a sudden, the table starts to shake, and his wife is sitting there. She's never seen anything like this. The whole table feels like it's going to fall, and then she remembers. She forgot to take Trumas and Maestros on the spices, and the cholent has tevel in it, and she can't eat it. Oy vey! And she says, Chanina! Because she called him Chanina, not Rav Chanina, because it was her husband. So Chanina, there's tevel in the cholent. I forgot to take Trumas and Maestros from the spices. And he says, I almost ate tevel. Baruch Hashem, that's probably why my hand shook and why the table shook, to remind me. And he said, okay, no problem. He knew how to fix the situation. They were able to eat the cholent. Everybody was happy. That's the first story. Second story, one day, Rav Chanina ben Dosa is sitting in his house. Okay, so sitting in his house, and he is enjoying, he's sitting in his house, and all of a sudden, he hears rustling and noise from outside his house, goes outside his house, and there are two robbers stealing his donkey. They're running away with the donkey. He can't catch up to them. They're too far ahead. He needs his donkey. But he loses his donkey. The two robbers bring Rav Chanina ben Dosa's donkey back to the house. They figure they'll keep it a couple of days while the police are looking for the donkey, and then they'll have the donkey, and then they'll sell the donkey for a lot of money. No one will ever know. They hide the donkey. They bring the donkey food. Donkey won't touch the food. So they're trying to figure out, why won't the donkey eat? Donkeys eat anything. So they give the donkey other food. Won't touch it. Fruits they give him. Vegetables they give the donkey. Nothing. He's not going near any of the food. And it's fresh fruit and fresh vegetables. And they're trying to figure it out. And they bring over their friend. And they said, look at this donkey. He's going to starve to death. He's not eating. Why do you think this donkey's not eating? And they says, who'd you get the donkey from? I know you guys. You're not honest. You're a bunch of thieves. Who'd you steal the donkey from? And they said, well, we took it from, we'll admit it, Rav Chanina ben Dosa. You did what? You stole Rav Chanina ben Dosa's donkey, of all the people to steal from the biggest tzaddik in the world? Of course this donkey's not going to eat your food. Why not? Because your donkey, this donkey that you stole, is from a tzaddik. And the tzaddik doesn't eat tevel, and you guys don't know anything about Trumot and Maisrot. You didn't take Trumot and Maisrot on this food. You did nothing. The donkey's not going to eat you at all. He's not going to eat anything from you. And they tried to bring the donkey back because they couldn't sell it because it was going to starve to death. And Chanina ben Dosa got his donkey back. And you'll sit and you'll say, whoa, Chanina ben Dosa must have been such a tzaddik, and he was. Because he knew we have to be so careful about doing all the mitzvot. Why do we have to be so careful about doing the mitzvot? Because the mitzvot are a matana tova. They're a great gift from Hashem. An amazing gift from Hashem. All the mitzvot are the best gift in the world. And we get to do the mitzvot. And we never want to skip a mitzvah, ever. We would never want to skip a mitzvah. Can you imagine? Just imagine. If the owner of a toy store told you you could go into the store and take whatever you want. Anything you want from the toy store, and as much as you want. Here's a big shopping cart, the biggest shopping cart you ever saw. Whatever you fill in, you could keep, and you could be in here for half an hour. No problem. And can you imagine if you decided to take anything? Who would do that? You take whatever you could get. That's what this all is. That's what this world is. The world is our toy store, and the toys are the mitzvahs, and we can take as many as we want. And Hanina ben Dosa looked around and he said, how could I miss even one mitzvah? I would never think of it. Never in the world. That's our lesson. We have to be like Rav Hanina ben Dosa. We have to look at the world like a toy store, and the toys are the mitzvahs, so we can take as many mitzvahs as we want, and as many mitzvahs as we can, and we've got the biggest shopping cart, our whole lives. We've got to go around and pick up as many mitzvahs as we can. Isn't that a great story? I love that story. What a great story. Okay, now I want to show you the last thing, the very last thing. A lot of times we go in our schools. Today we don't get to go to school. But a lot of times in school we get to make something for Pesach. We get to make a Seder plate. And I found in my house something that I couldn't believe I found. It is incredible. It's a Seder plate. But it's the Seder plate I made when I was a little kid. Look at this Seder plate. Doesn't this look funny? Look at that. It has room for a beitza, for a zroa, for maror. I don't know why my maror looks like a carrot, but it does. Like a carrot and karpas and charoset. And at our Seder plate this year, we're going to have, at our Seder tables, each of us is going to have one Seder plate. Maybe all of us get a Seder plate. Every family does it differently. In my family, we have one Seder plate for everybody gets to share. And on the Seder plate, we have very special things. All these things that we have are to remind us of something else. So we're going to have charoset. My charoset looks like an acorn. I don't know why. Maybe because I grew up in New Jersey. But in any case, you have a charoset, which is like different sweet things put together, and you have a charoset together here, right, on our Seder plate, and it reminds us of the bricks that we had to make in Mitzrayim. And then we had zroa, which is a bone, reminds us of the korbanos that we used to have. Maror reminds us of, and maror is not delicious at all, and it reminds us how hard it was to be an Eved. Okay, and under the Seder plate, we put, sometimes some people put it under the Seder plate, sometimes people put it somewhere else. We have matzah, because matzah is what we ate when we were in Mitzrayim, and it's also what we got to eat when we left Mitzrayim. We had matzah because we had to leave in a hurry, and the matzah is like bread, but it goes quick, and I wanted to show you this special Seder plate. But that's not the only Seder plate I have. I found two others in my house today. Maybe in your house, they're also going to be cleaning for Pesach today. That's what we are doing, getting our Pesach stuff out. My two oldest children are Abigail and Tamima. And Abigail is 20 and Tamima is 19. And these are their Seder plates also. Look at that. This one says Abigail. And this one says Tamima. And they also made a Seder plate. Theirs are much better than mine. Looks much more realistic. But these are all our Seder plates from when we were little kids. And we saved them because they're very, very special. And Pesach is coming this week, and we can't wait. And that's the end of our show today. What a great show. We got to see the clouds, the weird weather that we're having today here in Mitzpeh Yericho. We got to learn a great story about Rav Hanina ben Dosa and how he didn't even accidentally do something wrong. And we got to see Seder plates, learn about donkeys. Everything was great. What a great day. I hope I can see you tomorrow. Shalom to everybody.